Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to the latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called The Four Horsemen, written by Grand Admiral 98. The forest was absolutely beautiful, filled with emerald trees and a deep blue, almost purple, sky. The mountains had a bit of summer snow on them, and the pines waved in the northern wind as Krillic walked through this piece of paradise. He recognized that, being one of the few sentient beings which had an endurance to match the humans, he was one of the few creatures to look upon this untouched landscape, which the humans had so carefully preserved and grown. His guide waited in front of him, a human.
"Ah, there you are," Krillic said. "I thought I'd lost you."
Carol, his guide, only replied, "Not a chance. You're pretty good on your feet." She pointed at the barren mountain range in front of them. "See that? In about 2 years, that should be filled with trees. I'll be taking care of the smaller plants." The scale of the project was impressive, turning a barren rock into this beautiful landscape.
"That's impressive."
Krillic wondered at these humans. They were called the unrivaled masters of destruction. They did not deserve their name. Of course, they were one of the older races in the galaxy, but still. "Penny for your thoughts?" the guide asked.
"What?"
"Just a saying. You looked pensive," she innocently replied.
"Ah, yes. You humans don't have a very good reputation in the galaxy. As an envoy from the Yarul Empire, one of the new guys on the block, I thought that this construction project would be something like turning the planet into a giant machine or something. Not this."
Carol only smiled. "And what is it that they call us in the galaxy at large? I haven't really been outside the Stellar Combine." "No surprise. They own 35% of the habitable worlds in the galaxy. By the way, we don't use human when we're saying the name of our nation. It's rude to the 45% of those who aren't human."
"Well," he hesitated, "we hear that you were the unrivaled masters of destruction."
At this, she laughed. A nervous laugh emanated from Krillic as well. "Ah, that. I'll tell you once we get back to the starbase." Back at the starbase, he could see the blues in the ocean and the greens of the trees slowly creeping up on the desolate grey of the planet. Carol came up to him. "Since you are a new race, unbridled by inhibitions of the other nations, I wanted to make a good impression on you." She set down her databank and put on a far more serious face. "We are not the masters of destruction. We say that we are the masters of the Four Horsemen."
"The Four Horsemen?"
Krillic asked. The datapad opened. The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. War, famine, pestilence, and death. What he saw shocked him.
What is this?"
he asked, horrified by what he found. "Let me tell you a story," she started. "About 15,000 years ago, we barely made it out of our homeworld, Earth, before its resources were almost spent. We expanded, and we took over system after system at an unprecedented rate. Yet still our hunt for resources was pushing us to the brink of self-destruction. In our capital, millions starved under the weight of the population of 40 billion people on a single planet. On our other worlds, the same. We could not keep up with our population, no matter how far we expanded. We called this the Age of Famine. For 1,300 years this lasted. Our population grew to unimaginable levels, 8,600 billion people for 7,200 planets, including the newly colonized worlds with only a few million. It could not last. Eventually, we ran into our first Xenos, a peaceful culture with no defenses. We crushed them for their planets. Then this happened again, and again, 15 cultures crushed under our machines until we realized that we could conquer the whole galaxy and still not be satisfied. For the first time since we left, we decided to look back at what we had done. It was not pretty. The Xenos, though officially a part of the Human and United Worlds, did not receive any rights. Their worlds had been transformed into ours, their mountains desecrated for no more reason than there was not enough space. We stopped, and we had a choice. Either we turn back and limit our growth, or we start to change how we grow food, look for resources to less wasteful methods. We would never turn back. That was the time of the first space forges, the agri-worlds, the terraforming moons for the purposes of feeding billions, farms inside skyscrapers, and more. We emerged victorious in our struggle against famine, literal and figurative. We reformed into the human consortium.
I see. So that's how you beat the 4 Horsemen.
No, that's how we beat famine.
You discovered that you need to remake yourself.
We discovered humility, she continued. Then came pestilence. Our worlds were so populated that anything could wreak havoc on them, like a contagion. About 400 years after the age of famine, we discovered a virus frozen on a desolate world. We uncovered it, and it rampaged through our planets. At the time, 44,000 planets were under our control with trillions of citizens. It killed the Xenos and human alike, and in an incredible number. Earth was quarantined so that nothing would reach it. But in the end, even it fell. Within 50 years, 70% of our population was killed. Most of it in our core worlds. We once again escaped. No amount of technology could save us this time, like with normal diseases. This was made to destroy us all. We quarantined world after world when we realized that it was not enough. We would not survive unless we made the toughest choice of all. We purged all the infected. Those who did not would soon fall to the disease. Widely infected planets were burned from orbit. Parents would kill their children. Children would kill their parents if they became infected. Quickly, the merciful died. Only those strong enough remained. By the end of the crisis of pestilence, we went from a population of 14 trillion to a few hundred billion. We used to control over the billion stars, and now down to a few million. But we were alive, if not completely human any longer. It took 500 years to recover, and even then... But we once again took back what was ours, and more. Between robots, cloning, and what we had learned from famine and pestilence, we learned to supersede both. The story was intense, and of a horror Krillic could not imagine. The decision they made, the sacrifice they made to save everyone was beyond hope or desperation. A drive to succeed and survive no matter what was their strength.
I see, said Krillic. But why then is everyone absolutely afraid of you? Seeing you with terror and awe, you seem driven, but nothing to indicate why everyone's so afraid.
Carol smiled. That's because you haven't heard the last 2 stories. For 1,000 years, we expanded our reach. Star after star fell to our rule, a much kinder rule than it had been at the beginning. This was 3,700 years after FTL, just so you know. There had been some conflicts, but nothing existential. We now controlled 3% of the galaxy, and 4% of its habitable worlds, a great feat by any standard, in so little time. But then, like all things, it came to an end. We met the Tzizinkithi. At the time, they were our only rival, and eventually it came to war. A small one to begin with, but it grew and grew and grew until it encompassed the whole Orion arm. 20% of our population had perished then. All our worlds were at some point bombed. For over 200 years this went on. Everyone forgot why we fought, but still we fought. No peace was achievable. We attempted to negotiate, but too much blood had been spilled. Too much had been lost. Earth burned. Their homeworld burned. And under the ashes of a blazing sky, we still fought tooth and nail. We had the population and production advantage, but they still held the military one. We did our best to kill their population, but no number of superweapons could change the course of the war. Then, knowing that this could not continue, we made an offer they could not refuse. We surrendered, under the condition that half of the people of each of our planets moved to theirs and half from theirs to ours. They can control the government if necessary. It appeared to be a perfect victory. In a single swoop, they managed to conquer the entire human nation. But there was a catch. We had twice their population. They had gained control over the government, but we outnumbered them on every world they held. We kept our remaining ships hidden. Within 40 years, we outnumbered them 3-1. Then, in one fell swoop, we gained control over every governmental institution. The military could do nothing. We remade ourselves into the human Imperium. We extinguished their flame once and for all.
Gods, critics started. How did you know that was the path?
We finally realized that the best victory is one won without fighting, and that by surrendering we could gain an advantage that no one else could. And we learned to assume formlessness, stay ourselves despite being separated. In learning that, we finally mastered war. Krillic thought these humans were crazy, ruthless yet powerful. No wonder that they gained such a reputation.
Wait. There's one thing that bugs me. You defeated them, but you haven't explained how you got your reputation, nor did you explain how you conquered death.
Carol smiled sadly. Our greatest moment, our most powerful moment, and our basest. This was 8,000 years ago, 7,000 years after the discovery of FTL. We were one of the most powerful nations in the galaxy by then. We could inspect ourselves, understand who we were, and how to surpass it. We knew how to sacrifice and how to win despite everything. We mastered changing ourselves so completely that we became unconquerable. But one thing we hadn't mastered was death. The Tyrillian swarm found us. At the time, we had 20% of the galaxy's habitable worlds and 30% of its population. A perfect target. We knew from beforehand the danger. They devoured all organic life without exception, and they would destroy anything in their search. Like our first lesson, we did our best to search for a solution within ourselves. But again, no technology or policy or mindset or politic to change the fact that we would be annihilated. Then we tried our second lesson. We burned the worlds between them and us. We evacuated or killed the people in order to do so. System after system was ravaged by us to stem their advance. But it wasn't enough. Still they came. We tried our best, killed their suppliers. Every rule of war we knew and didn't. Indirect fighting, viruses, anything. But nothing. Nothing we could do could even slow their methodical, mechanical advance. Don't judge us for our actions. Within the first 3 years, 56 trillion souls lay dead. Tell me, you are faced with an impossible enemy on which you cannot defeat using technology or strategy. One which desires to consume you above all else. Nothing short of that will stem its advance. What would you do? The truth is that you can't do anything. Cryosleep won't help. Running away won't help. Fighting won't help. Only by dying can you kill them. The trick is, of course, that's a draw. Everyone loses if you can't come back. There is no such thing as a soul, but if there was, we killed ours then. No, back then true AI didn't exist. We couldn't upload our brains into some Deus Ex Machina machine. How do you come back from the dead? The truth is that we didn't. We used the technology and knowledge from all of our previous encounters, cloning, the knowledge within ourselves, sacrificing, destroying the enemy without fighting. We built living machines to act as trainers and parents, advisors and counselors. They weren't truly alive, but they were enough. Then we killed off every soul in our empire. 800 trillion people were dead by the end, and the human Imperium was no more. But because of the lack of living creatures, so was the swarm. After 3,000 years, the swarm had long since died from lack of food, and the humans were a distant memory. The first cloning rats sprung back to life, recreating our DNA from proteins created by raw materials. We were reborn. To protect our life, the androids had been given a living program that could adapt to the circumstances. They protected the territory that needed protecting, and more importantly, they came alive. Once baby humans and all other species we saved came back into being, they were taken care of far better than our past selves could have ever imagined. We came back to being a force in the galaxy. Today, 5,000 years back from extermination, here we are, When we have social troubles, we take care of them very seriously. When we have a cancer, we cut it out ruthlessly. When we are in danger, we'll find a way to win. And when we die, we always come back. That's what it means to be human, finished Carol. Krillic looked at her, then back at the depiction of the 4 horsemen.
So, by saying that you are the masters, you mean that you can supersede them?
Partially. We understand when and how to use them, and when not to. We gain control over these and ourselves. That's what it means to master something, she replied. Krillic looked out the window at the blue-green world to be, and he could only really ask one question.
What's, next?
Carol only laughed and pointed a finger towards the desolate planet, pregnant with new life. End of story. I would just like to thank the T5 supporters: Bushmaster 117, Casper Arnholtz, Draxzoon WRE, Elijah Silvercross, Gray, John Carrington, and Severin Cerberus. Thank you very much.